Plans to let men self-identify as women to get access to female spaces such as prisons have been criticised, Jonathan.
That's right. So the headline is, the SNP's self-identity bill could harm women's rights in England. So UK ministers have called on Nicola Sturgeon to scrap plans to let Scottish people self-declare as the opposite sex over fears it could lead to legal chaos and undermine women's rights in England. Under legislation expected to be passed by the Scottish Parliament before Christmas, people over the age of 16 will be able to apply for a birth certificate with their new sex within 6 months without a gender dysphoria diagnosis. So the option in Scotland is there to just self-identify, get the new birth certificate, passport, and you don't have to be diagnosed by a doctor. So there's sort of no barriers now. There once were. So senior UK government figures fear the move, which is not available to people in England, could allow biologically male Scottish prisoners in England, in English jails to demand to be placed in female-only prisons. So there seems to be a sort of a disconnect here between what's allowed in Scotland and what's not.
So you
allowed
could
in
go
England.
up, basically go up to Scotland, I could go up to Scotland and say, I'm a woman now, I get my birth certificate, then I go down to England and now I've got access, now I'm recognised as a woman, and it's like, gender passport tourism.
They're calling it gender tourism. And there's people like Kemi Badenoch are pointing out that it won't be able to be fully contained, there'll be legal chaos. And they're even saying that the government could take the Scottish government to the Supreme Court over this. So, it's typical Sturgeon stuff. She has to do the opposite of England and create this weird little communist dictatorship in Scotland where it doesn't seem to care about the effect on children. It's just going to allow children to be basically mutilated with this horrific law.
There's a huge... in Glasgow, they're treating children as young as 9 with puberty blockers, which is, to my mind, I'm not a doctor, but it just sounds way too young. And also there's a huge incentive for criminals to identify as women, because then it hides your previous convictions, because you'll be convicted under your previous name. So you get a new name, you get to call yourself Susan or whatever, and then you also get to go to a female prison and probably continue committing crimes.
What shocks me about this is I live in North London. I've spoken to the ultra-liberal people in North London who disagree with me on everything. But the one thing they agree on is that no one wants puberty blockers for kids, especially really young children who can't properly understand the consequences of it. I'm not sure anyone can really understand the consequences, but why is Sturgeon still pushing it then? I can't believe the people of Scotland want it at all.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, the Daily Mail next.